Okay, I'll be fully honest with you. I'm about 6-7 hours in watching clavicular content in the hope of finding something interesting to say about him, but
the problem is I feel like I'd be kind of skeptical you were just trying to green card Max. That's why I worry about you Eastern Europeans. I don't think that women should have to work jobs at all. I think that they should be provided for. I'm really not too far off from a homeless guy. I mean, I do all the same that they do. I just have a lot of money. It's a mega waste of time.
Going out on dates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, what about like connecting with her because like you like her or something like that? You know, like maybe you want to start a family.
But where's the ROI in that?
What's that?
Return on investment. You are a reflection of the man that you intend on being with.
Okay, well, I probably favorite chip in here.
Well,
this is just good old Manosphere stuff, really.
you don't want to feel my dick?
I don't want to feel your micro, okay?
Okay, when I fucked you the first time, I couldn't get hard.
I told you, nothing new. Clavicular's most popular videos on YouTube are the ones involving some form of speed dating. Those videos tend to be more curated than his long streams where he goes clubbing, takes pictures, and gets surrounded by Gen Z girls drawn to this guy's looks and clout. I don't judge these women for doing so. Back in my day, some of us would queue for hours to get a picture with the Abercrombie guys. But anyway, what drew my attention among the chaos of Clavicular's online presence is the repeated mention of this.
You're from Poland. Usually they're not as westernized over there.
Westernized girl. That's me, I guess. I was born and grew up in France. I'm probably the worst type of westernized girl. French women have their reputation. We are ruthless with men.
The fall of the West, essentially.
Now, jokes aside though, I feel like we all get a sense of what westernized girl means, but I haven't seen anyone take the time to sit down and fully explain it. Like, who can be a westernized girl? Who cannot? Where is the line drawn in the us versus them? And why do Manosphere men hate westernized girls so much? So here I am, my name's Alice. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Okay guys, allow me just 1 minute to tell you about today's sponsor, Surfshark. You know I love my job, but it forces me to move around a lot. I'm always researching, interviewing, sometimes I speak at events or collaborate with other creatives, and because of that I have to constantly move from cafes, airports, hotels, or whatever free Wi-Fi I can connect to for just a few minutes. That still sounds convenient, until you remember that most public Wi-Fi is basically wide open. Anyone on that network could, in theory, see what you're doing. Emails, passwords, private messages, all of that. And since I'm often uploading files or sending things last minute, I used to just hope nothing sketchy was happening in the background. That's why I started using Surfshark. I have it on my laptop and on my phone, which are the two devices I rely on the most when I'm traveling. It encrypts my connection, hides my IP, and makes all my online activity much harder to track. As a female content creator, that level of privacy is really important to me. You know, I've had weird experiences, including people showing up at events they were not invited to, so that extra layer of protection when I'm researching or when I'm planning things is something I deeply appreciate. But Surfshark goes beyond the VPN part. It blocks trackers and ads, monitor your personal info for leaks, and one account protects unlimited devices if you want your whole household covered. And by the way, if like me you travel often, it is super helpful for accessing sites or keeping up with your favorite shows that are blocked in certain places. You can simply switch your virtual location and keep working like normal. Now, if you want to try it, and I highly recommend it, you can go to surfshark.com/Alice or use my code Alice at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Thank you Surfshark for sponsoring the video, and now let's go back to it. So I started this research by trying to find the oldest references to the phrase westernized girl, or at least references to comparisons between Eastern and Western girls. From that research, I can say that there are 3 historical contexts that promoted the use of that phrase: European travel literature, colonialism, and globalization. Let's take a quick look at European travel literature to start with. As I was researching, a name came up a few times: Pierre Loti. In 19th century France, travel writer and soldier Pierre Loti incorporated fictional elements into his travel writings, which served to establish some of the most enduring Orientalist tropes in the world of art. Now, Orientalist is a reference to the essay by Edward Said, which defines a Western tendency to represent the East as exotic and mysterious, as the other, by projecting their own fantasies, fears, and moral judgments onto people and cultures they don't fully understand. In Loti's Aziyadeh in 1879, the author doesn't really show the Orient as a real lived society, he turns it into a world of dreams and mystery. Drawing on his own travel journal from Ottoman Turkey, he tells the story of a love affair with a young harem woman called Aziyadeh, but Aziyadeh herself is less a fully realized person than a white-veiled, almost ghostly figure. But you see, in order to have an Eastern other, you also need a Western default. The construction of an other served to better define what it means to be a Westerner, as the Westerner was often represented in opposition to the Eastern, Asian, and African. Loti and many other travel writers of the time had a huge influence on developing Orientalist tropes, this us versus them paradigm that was magnified during the era of colonization. Colonialism often legitimized itself by using the us versus them paradigm popularized through the media. News and pictures of the colonies were shown in newspapers on the streets. Governments encouraged their populations to work and settle in the newly occupied lands, and mostly didn't prevent them from marrying local women. Westernization was often imposed on colonies, which were forced to abandon their culture and traditions to adopt those of the colonizer. But colonization also promoted the construction of new transport and communication infrastructures to allow Western powers to trade effectively with their colonies or protectorates. Those infrastructures facilitated cultural exchanges, including the development of Western soft power. For example, in many Asian cities, the local middle and upper classes took on Western styles and aesthetics. The Japanese moga and the Chinese modern girl were parallel icons of urban modernity in the 1920s and 1930s and were both portrayed as Westernized, fashionable young women who embraced new foreign consumer lifestyles. The Japanese moga emerged slightly earlier in Tokyo, modeled closely on American flappers and embodying individualistic rebellion against traditional gender norms. The Chinese modern girl, on the other hand, appeared mainly in cosmopolitan Shanghai, blending Western accessories and a modernized qipao, symbolizing the influence of foreign culture in a semi-colonial city. In both countries, the style was celebrated in advertising, yet criticized in newspapers and literature as materialistic or morally disruptive. In fact, Chinese women known as the May 4th intellectuals who advocated women's liberation often criticized the modern westernized girl, which appeared very different from their vision of modernity as socially transformative and rooted in the nation. Towards the mid-20th century, as colonial empires lost their legitimacy and had to grant colonies independence, infrastructures of communication and influence remained, and new ones emerged. Globalization is defined by the movement of people and information. Western soft power continued to grow through fashion, TV shows, films, and also through social movements and academia. The attitudes, styles, and ideas emerging in the West influence people around the world. At the same time, the whole idea of Western men seeking non-Western wives turned into a global business. International marriage agencies started popping up everywhere. This is when male order brides became a recognizable system. So men in the US or Europe looking for women in the Philippines, Thailand, Russia, or later Latin America, often because they imagined them as more traditional or family-oriented. By the 2000s, online dating and migration networks made cross-border marriages and relationships feel very accessible. This formed the basis for the emergence of the passport bros phenomenon in the 2020s. The trend grew alongside the Manosphere, a reaction to the Me Too movement. The passport bros complain about Western women being too feminist and seeks to outsource their and love lives abroad, where again women are thought to be more traditional and submissive. This is obviously an oversimplification born out of Manosphere forums. I've spent quite some time on those forums, and it's clear to me that these often young men's understanding of women is limited to tropes that can be traced back to media representations in films, TV, fiction, video games. Now, despite not really fitting the image people have of guys on incel-friendly forums, Clavicular's view of women is very similar. He denies being part of the manosphere, but is connected to it in every single way.
There is an association in the press with looksmaxing and the sort of right-wing manosphere. Do you agree with that?
I've collaborated with like people who say like edgy things, but that's my brand. It's like I really don't care. Even if I were to hypothetically be right or left wing, it wouldn't change the fact that looksmaxing is apolitical.
His views on women are deeply misogynistic. He doesn't hide it. He uses edgy, misogynistic takes in his long streams as a strategy to keep viewers engaged.
Nobody of serious value wants their wife plastered in even bikinis all over Instagram. That's just ridiculous.
But he also strongly agrees with the foundation of misogyny, which is that women cannot make decisions for themselves. They don't know what they want. Science does, though. Every time he's confronted by a woman whose life experience contradicts these so-called scientific facts he learned on these forums, he dismisses them as exceptions, as westernized girls. But boy, if women have been fighting so hard for centuries to not be constrained by those natural facts, if a majority of Gen Z women identify as feminists, maybe that should be a signal that this is not so natural, that the way a person chooses to live their life isn't limited to biological impulses. We're social beings. After all, we are shaped and transformed by society. Clavicular won't admit it, but he actually gets it. That's why he uses the phrase westernized. The term westernized, not Western, puts the emphasis on an ideology or a culture rather than an identity or a biological reality. Being westernized is a process through which some women go through, making them less desirable for Manosphere guys.
Hey, you want me to take a picture of you?
No, thanks.
Are you sure? I'm happy to.
No, I'm okay, thanks.
But I think...
You don't accept my no. No means no. I'm a feminist.
Yeah, okay, that's a good no.
Being a feminist is a good no.
Interestingly, the two moments where I caught Clavicular use that phrase, westernized girls, is when he was in discussion with Slavic women, which is a term used to refer to women coming from these regions you can see on the map. Now, this repeated interest in Slavic women caught my attention. You know, earlier we said that the Manosphere's understanding of women is limited to specific tropes shaped by media representation, as a lot of these guys don't talk to women or don't have female friends. Well, the Slavic woman is one of those often overlooked examples of these tropes. What I find interesting about the fetishization of Slavic women is this caricature-like appeal to both the traditional and the sexual, the sensual.
People saying that women in Eastern Europe are less emancipated, or they have more traditional values, aka they want to have a family, or they want to have kids and they want to stay home. So I guess that's the traditional part of it, and I believe the sensual part of it comes with this implied exotic or Orientalism, I would say, almost, because there was an Iron Curtain, so the country was closed. People couldn't just go there and travel there. So there is this sense of otherness.
This is Daria, a writer and YouTuber who recently did a video on the representation of Slavic women, which caught my attention. Daria connects Slavic women's representations to something we talked about earlier, Orientalism, insisting that Slavic women's relative otherness increased by geographical distance and historical circumstances, like the Iron Curtain during the Cold War, creates a sense of mystery and exoticism which turns the Slavic woman into a sexual object. But that exoticism is counterbalanced by another reality which makes Slavic women more approachable to Western men like Clavicular. That thing is a shared skin color, whiteness.
Well, right now, whiteness defined is just by your color of your skin, literally, but there is so much more goes into it sociologically, economically, politically, of what whiteness is and how we define it. But at the same time, because somebody appears white or is white, right, by their nationality, they're sort of expected that they will assimilate faster. Okay, they will just accept all the Western values and they will forget, kind of shut down their own values or their own culture.
Clavicular says that Clark Kent, Matt Bomer, that's the actor, is objectively the most attractive guy. In your work, you talk about another stereotypical masculine figure, James Bond, who on multiple occasions flirts with Slavic women, including Tatiana Romanova. Tatiana Romanova works as a cipher clerk in the Soviet consulate during the Cold War, and she's supposed to lure James Bond into a trap, but ends up developing a romantic relationship with him and gives up her mission. In your opinion, what role does Tatiana Romanova play in the James Bond movie?
Metaphorically kind of show that, okay, she is being saved by the West. She is inferior towards the superior Bond who represents British values and generally Western values overall.
These representations do have an impact on how Slavic women and Slavic people in general view themselves through the eyes of Westerners.
People understood that, well, it is worse here, or that was the idea, right? That it is better in the West and we have to move or immigrate, or that you always feel a bit inferior towards people from Europe or the West somehow.
This power imbalance can be perceived by someone like Clavicular, who can also take advantage of it. Remember in that clip at the beginning of the video, he jokes like a middle-aged man about the possibility of being green card maxed by this young Polish woman, implying that he has the upper hand, he has the nationality he thinks Slavic women like her want. The young women, on the other hand, seem a bit shocked by what's happening to her.
That's funny because I don't know you before I go in this place.
And you just learned about me when you came here.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that doesn't seem to bother Clavicular so much.
All right. So seems like you're a little nervous, but okay.
On the other hand, when presented with a girl who can articulate what she wants and respond to him in a way that doesn't just validate what he says, Clavicular's reaction shifts.
What is your idea of a first date?
I've never actually genuinely had a good one, ever, to be honest. I've never really gotten asked out in person, ever, in my entire life. But I would
You got kind of an intimidating look to you.
Thank you.
Now, I did raise an eyebrow when I heard this. This interaction was perfectly normal. She replied to his questions with complete sentences. She shows a decent sense of self and looked quite serious, but fun nevertheless. The fact that this interaction makes Clavicular think that she's intimidating is revealing of how little confidence he and other guys like him have in themselves. So what he likes in the Slavic women he met is primarily the fact that they don't have the ability to challenge him or even form a full sentence in English, not because they are dumb, but because they just don't speak the language fluently. The rest is projection, projecting the stereotypes Daria was talking about onto these women, regardless of their true personality or tastes. Okay, so now we have a better understanding of the phrase Westernized girl. Westernized refers to both a consumerist, capitalist form of femininity coupled with an egalitarian attitude towards relationship. In other words, a Westernized girl is a product of the successive waves of liberal feminism and is embedded in a capitalist consumerist culture. There are valid criticisms of the Westernized girl. The alliance of capitalism and feminism has given birth to girl boss feminism, for example, which empowers only a small percentage of women and keeps the vast majority of them struggling economically under the weight of the capitalist economy. This form of feminism remains imperfect because it refuses to challenge the system that promotes and maintains the patriarchal norms it is seeking to fight against. What do I mean by that? Capitalism and patriarchy work hand in hand. The free labor or unpaid labor of women has a function in a capitalist economy. It's called reproductive labor, sometimes also called care work. It encompasses all the things that allow workers to go to work and be productive, and that work is often done by women, especially working class women, for free or for low pay. In that context, the criticism of Westernized girl feels valid. It encourages people to recognize that the feminist movement cannot be detached from a critique of capitalism, as capitalism depends on the family, the free labor of women to reproduce capital, and the control of their sexuality to keep that capital in the family, generation after generation. If you think that the feminist critique of the nuclear family is the product of liberal feminism, you'd be very wrong. Black feminists and queer feminists have pushed those talking points from the margins until they made their way into mainstream white feminism. Black and queer feminists knew from experience within their communities that the concept of the nuclear family was for white middle-class people to help them grow their wealth and pass it on to their offspring. You see, building a nuclear family when the men in your community are disproportionately exposed to risks like drug use, alcoholism, or prison is not easy. Building a nuclear family when you like people of the same gender as you isn't easy. Yet again, the nuclear family with its set gender roles is the best structure to thrive in a capitalist economy. Actually, if that speaks to you or you want to learn more, I highly recommend this book that I'm reading at the moment. But anyway, all of that isn't really what someone like Clavicular refers to when he talks about Westernized girls. Clavicular is against all forms of female emancipation. He believes that the best relationships are those in which the woman is a virgin because he can ensure the best pair bonding. And he also believes that the best outcome for a woman is to rely on her husband's income, which is increasingly difficult in our present economic system, but also deeply constraining for women. There are way too many stories of stay-at-home mothers with little economic capital of their own trapped in abusive households. And again, Clavicular knows that in a way, as he understands that a woman with a number of past relationships may carry with her traumatic experiences.
But were these experiences good? I mean, I'm sure you've...
Good, bad, great, not so great.
Right,
That makes
of course.
You a person.
That makes you...
That builds character.
That character is the problem. Right now you have a lot of trauma that's built up.
But he doesn't want to have to deal with that.
People always tell me I'm so unempathetical for this, but the last thing that any guy needs is to pick up someone else's trauma. It's not something that you want to deal with. So unfortunately, like I'm sorry that happened to you, but that's just not. It's not really something I'm looking for.
You see, I almost want to feel bad for Clavicular. The magazine Jacobin tells me that only love can save the Manosphere guys, but that's such a weird take. Love is in effect an immersion, it's like an engine, but it needs direction, a framework, to reveal its potential. For Jacobin, the framework remains the monogamous heterosexual relationship, so yeah, we go back to where we started. Women are expected to do the care work, to take those guys out of the Manosphere and turn them into loving and egalitarian boyfriends and husbands. Others went as far as claiming that incels should have a right to S. Funded by whom? The government? Provided by whom? I mean, love alone cannot change the magnitude of patriarchal norms. It's like thinking that Imagine by John Lennon will bring peace in the world, or that David Guetta will end racism.
In honor of George Floyd, shout out to his family.
Never get bored of this one. I recently saw a clip though that further convinced me of what I've just said. It's from a documentary produced by Max Lolom and it's called High School Radical. Max, a French guy, went to Oklahoma in 2016 as a teenager for a year and realized in 2020 that a lot of the friends he had made at the time supported Donald Trump. He decided to go back to Oklahoma and talk to these people. He ends the documentary by traveling to meet his former bestie in Seattle. He secretly hopes that he doesn't vote for Trump and is scared to ask him, to present him with the two caps, Harris or Trump, to choose from, as he did with his other friends. So both of them are in the car, and this is what the friend says.
I have always been great, I think, at seeing a middle.
His relationship changed him.
And then marrying a far liberal.
Loved changed him.
I'm a man. Why do I have to say on what a woman does with her body? And that's one of the biggest arguments we have in this country.
He's more moderate now.
But I'm also now more middle. I think you have to be able to see both sides of everything to grow as a person.
And then comes the moment to pick the cap.
Open your eyes and choose one.
Oh, I mean, I have to always support who my commander-in-chief is going to be. I gotta do the dance too.
You can't tell me he's not aware that Trump will attack women's rights as soon as he gets into power. We know he did.
Me wearing this and Kolfina seeing it, she's gonna shh.
All right.
Take that off. I'm gonna kill you. Get out of my house. It's out.
Thank you.
It's out.
Now sure, this is just an anecdote, but I think it's revealing of how the work of making a boyfriend or husband side with your rights as a woman is laborious and will need more than a loving relationship. If someone needs to take care of the Manosphere guys, the Luxmaxers, it's not women, it's society as a whole. The stereotypes that fit their vision of women, the pseudoscientists who feed their forums, the people who platform them for clout and fail to ask the difficult question or fact-check them. It's a collective failure. Do better. Do better for the guys who view Luxmaxing, including hammering your face, as the path to live a comfortable, socially rewarding life. And for the girls and women on the receiving end of this misogyny thrown at their faces, both on social media and in real life. Yeah, I'll end with this. Do better. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you Surfshark for sponsoring the video. You can go to surfshark.com/Alice or use my code Alice at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. I want to end by thanking my patrons for their support and a special thank to top tier patrons Hamed Shunak, Sibev, Jose Bailey, Nofol Shamari, Fred, Hongxing Wang, Paul-Louis Agenot, Patrick Button, Jeff Lee, Taya Matin, Nick, Brandon, Jamsido, Ojwal, Patrick Riley, Boris, Ria, Koriji, Tristan, Christopher, Ian, Donage, Alex, Manuel, Christopher France, and Perry. And thank you to the other ones who prefer to stay anonymous. That's it, I'll see you very soon. Salut!